Now that you've got your graphic organizer set up, this is exactly how we would do it in class. So if we're looking at our very first one, so this is going to be about zebra and quagga mussels. So I'm going to write for species name, zebra and quagga mussels. So zebra and quagga mussels. And so I'm going to be looking for where did it come from, how did it get here, what does it do to the ecosystem, how does it change the ecosystem, and then also how can it be stopped. And these are not my videos, these are put on by Silent Invaders.
These two cousins from the Black and Caspian Seas have hitchhiked their way from Europe.
Oh, they just told us one little part. So they just told us that they came from the Black and Caspian Sea. And I'm just putting bullet points just to help myself out a little bit. So they just told us that they came in from the Black and Caspian Sea.
Europe to the U.S., zapping. These two cousins from the Black and Caspian Seas have hitchhiked their way from Europe to the U.S., zapping every ounce of food energy from whatever water source they inhabit. These filter-feeding fanatics can be found in lakes and rivers all across the United States. The zebra and quagga mussels are just one more enemy in this daily battle with the silent invaders. There's something therapeutic about the sounds of water splashing against the shore of beautiful Lake Superior. But all is not well beneath these tranquil waves. Just outside the Great Lakes Aquarium in Duluth, Minnesota, Doug Jensen uses a makeshift device to do a little unconventional fishing for an invasive species that has found a home here.
And we'll see if this works.
Doug slides his homemade trap up the side of the sheet pilings, carefully raising it from the depths of the lake.
We have one.
His prey is a small shelled creature that stuck itself to the side of the pilings. This is a zebra mussel, which in and of itself looks pretty harmless.
It's not just one zebra mussel that causes the problem. It's when we have millions and millions of zebra mussels on the bottoms of our lakes and rivers that are causing the problem.
And there are millions. Even more. The zebra mussel, and especially its cousin, the quagga mussel, have spread from the Great Lakes region like a virus and is now found across the country.
It's about preventing these things from getting into our lakes and rivers, because once they're there, we just can't get rid of them.
Doug Jensen is one of 6 experts who will help tell the incredible story of how one small creature is having such a devastating effect on so many bodies of fresh water. Dan Malloy is a research scientist at the New York State Museum in Albany.
They can change the ecosystem in ways you don't want the ecosystem changed.
Dr. Russell Kuhl is a research scientist at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Great Lakes Water Institute.
There are undoubtedly many more individual quagga mussels than there are individual fish.
Byron Carnes is an aquatic biologist at the National Park Service on the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway along the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Fish species that used to be prevalent in Lake Michigan are gone.
Jeff Weborg fishes Lake Michigan for a living.
So if we're saying what does it do to an ecosystem, how does it change it, we could say fish species that were, and if we're talking about prevalent means that there were a lot, where I'm going to say abundant, that means a lot, are now gone.
We don't know if we're going to be in business from one year to the next.
Ed Rutherford is a research fishery biologist at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
We don't have oil spills in the Great Lakes, but we have something just as serious, which is invasive species.
And Tom Nalepa is also a research biologist at NOAA.
I never would expect an organism to become so abundant so quickly and have such dramatic changes as we have seen.
The first zebra mussel in North America was found in 1988 in Lake St. Clair near Detroit. From there, they expanded eastward to Lake Ontario and into the St. Lawrence Seaway. The quagga mussel was discovered 1 year later in 1989. The theory is that both species of mussels hitchhiked a ride from Eastern Europe by living in the ballast waters of giant ocean-going ships. Once here, the zebra mussel quickly spread by the millions.
Okay, so we just found out that they arrived from the Black and Caspian Seas, and so we could say on boats in ballast waters. And some of you might be wondering, what are ballast waters? Well, here's kind of a little simulation about what ballast waters are.
The foreign port discharges ballast water as it takes on cargo. The ballast water may contain invasive species from the ship's home port. When a ship's cargo hold is emptied at the home port, the ballast tanks are filled with ballast water to stabilize the ship. The water may contain marine organisms from the home port. When the ship offloads the new cargo, it releases the new ballast water, along with any invasive species that hitched a ride.
So if some of you have been on boats, some of you have been on jet skis, and we're just going to say that this is a boat, and basically their boat has these holes in it, and wherever they are, they take in water so they don't kind of tip over, and so they float okay, so they don't sink, whatever. Well, they load different items onto the boat, maybe like lumber or whatever resources, whatever materials onto it, and so they have to take in water from that surrounding area. So they take it in, yay, everything's fine. Then when they go to another location, that same boat, well, after it takes off or releases all the items that it was carrying, it's going to be too heavy or too heavy or too light. So it will then release that water, but that water contains some little microorganism inside of it. So as it travels, it's just basically the water that's inside the bottom of a boat, and it travels with it. So when they say hitchhikers, it means it just takes a ride over with it.
Throughout the Great Lakes. The quagga, however, took its time, eventually muscling in on the zebra mussel's territory, and is now the dominant invasive in unthinkable numbers.
There are tremendous numbers of quaggas in Lake Michigan right now. It's hard to imagine, but our scientist at NOAA who studies life on the bottom has estimated that there are over 4 quadrillion mussels on the bottom of the lake.
Not sure if you heard that, 4 quadrillion. And before they said there were more zebra mussels than there were fish.
Jeff Weborg's fishing business on Lake Michigan near Gills Rock, Wisconsin, offers visual evidence of just one of the serious problems created by the enormous population of zebra and quagga mussels. As he releases gill nets out the back of his fishing tug, massive numbers of zebra and quagga mussels drop to the deck like hailstones. The mess they create speaks for itself.
It'd be great to see them disappear, but that's not going to happen. They're here and they're here to stay. And so now you figure out how to deal with them.
But the real mess these mussels create is with the ecology of the lake, especially since the quagga mussel has arrived.
Where we had zebra mussels in kind of restricted areas in warmer water regions, now we have quagga mussels in both warmer water regions and in deeper cold water regions.
In other words,
so we could say that why are they so bad? They live in a variety of temperature locations. So before, they were only in maybe warmer water, but now they're in both warmer and colder water.
birds. They're everywhere. Coming up, how quagga...
Let's keep going, and I'm just going to skip through the intro.
There's something therapeutic about the sounds of water splashing against the shore. But all is not well beneath these tranquil waves. Invasive zebra and quagga mussels are infecting many of our lakes in ways never before experienced or even imagined. Thousands of these invaders drop to the floor each time commercial fisherman Jeff Weborg releases his gill nets into Lake Michigan.
It's hard to imagine, but our scientist at NOAA who studies life on the bottom has estimated that there are over 4 quadrillion mussels on the bottom of the lake.
These destructive mussels blanket the floor of big and small lakes alike. They have invaded 20 states, lurking in hundreds of inland lakes and 6 major rivers. And they stick themselves to everything.
So if you take a look at a pipe that mussels have entered, now you've got a problem.
Utility pipes and machinery often get clogged with massive amounts of sticking mussels, and it's costing us millions.
So, what does it do to the ecosystem? How does it change the ecosystem? Well, they just said that it covers the ocean, or covers the floor of lakes and rivers, and it sticks to everything. So I'm going to say sticks to everything, including pipes, costing money to fix.
Right now is probably between 15 and 20 million a year to control them at the pipes.
But that's only part of the problem.
They can change the ecosystem in ways you don't want the ecosystem changed.
Hungry zebra and quagga mussels are literally sucking in plankton, a critical part of the food chain and necessary for the survival of game fish. And the mussels have a voracious appetite.
A zebra mussel the size of my thumb can filter a liter or roughly a quart of water a day.
The only way these invasives can get into a lake is when a recreational boater or angler...
So they just told us what they're doing to the ecosystem, that they are over filtering the water, which means that they're removing plankton. And remember, we know plankton was a producer, so anything that eats that plankton, now there's no plankton there for it to eat.
Inadvertently puts them there. When traveling from one body of water to another, they either forget or inadvertently puts... The only way these invasives can get into a lake is when a recreational boater or angler inadvertently puts them there.
Inadvertently means accidentally, so it means that these fisher people or boaters are accidentally bringing them with them.
When traveling from one body of water to another, they either forget or don't know how to rid their boats of microscopic larvae.
Those larvae are virtually invisible to the naked eye. There's about 100 zebra mussel larvae in this vial.
The only prevention method is to clean, drain, and dry your boat every time you take it out of the water.
Make sure that you don't move water of any kind from one body of water to another. That means the bait buckets and the live wells and anything else that might be contained in your vessel.
It's the only way to...
So they just told us how we can prevent this. So they said to clean, drain, and dry your boat. Also, don't move water from other locations. And so now that I've got this done for zebra mussels and quagga mussels, I'm just going to draw a complete line underneath it, because now I'm going to go on to whatever the next one is.